Takuto was a terminally ill boy who reincarnated into the world of his favorite game after his death alongside his favorite game character. While the two of them decide to build an empire together just like they did in the game, they have no idea that Takuto has been reborn as the legendary king of ruin who will destroy the world so that it can be reborn. Takuto is a terminally ill boy who spends most of his time playing a civilization-building strategy game called Eternal Nations. One day, as he is starting the game again after accomplishing everything, he quietly passes away. He feels like he is sinking into darkness, and when he opens his eyes, he finds himself sitting on a stone throne in the middle of a forest. He doesn't understand what is happening, but then a familiar figure appears in front of him. Takuto immediately recognizes the woman as Atu, the sludge witch, who was his favorite character from the game of Eternal Nations. He remembers how he decided to play Eternal Nations at the most difficult level by picking up the Kingdom of Ruin and Evil, Minogra, as his starting point. Luckily, it came with Atu, a character who is incredibly weak at first, but she absorbs the abilities of the enemies she defeats and becomes the strongest by the end. Atu calls Takuto her king, and he wonders if this is some sort of role-play situation that he needs to go along with. However, Atu tells him that he doesn't need to think so hard about it, because she knows everything already. She knows his name, as well as the fact that he has never touched grass in his life. He was the pro among pros who completed the game on nightmare difficulty with the most tricky civilization. Takuto is astonished to hear that she knows about him being a player and her being a character inside the game, and Atu tells him that she remembers all their games as well. She knows his playstyle as well as all the things he said to her through the screen, and all the times he busted one out in her name. Takuto is incredibly happy on realizing that he can talk to his favorite character face to face, and Atu tells that she is even more happy. He then asks her if this is heaven and if she summoned him to this place, but Atu tells him that she was summoned to this place too. As for the location, she feels that it is like the world of Eternal Nations. She then quickly kneels before Takuto and holds his hand, saying that since they are here together, it doesn't matter what kind of place this is. She says that they should team up again and build a civilization just for the two of them. Takuto doesn't even know what to say as Atu pulls him down from his throne, telling him that they have conquered the world multiple times in the past, and they should consider this a chance for a brand new beginning. Takuto likes the idea, and he asks Atu to serve him to form a glorious civilization, and she gladly agrees. She then pretends to be a badass witch and officially pledges her loyalty to him. But then both of them get embarrassed at those cringe-level dialogues. With that, Takuto tells Atu that she already knows what is the first thing they do at Minogra. She affirms, saying that they will become shut-ins and hide their existence from the rest of the world. The next thing that Takuto does is using his emergency skill to produce a giant-sized bug to scout the nearby area. Takuto and Atu discuss how it is one of their core rules to completely hide their presence from other players in the early game, and scouts like this are helpful to gather information without revealing themselves. Takuto then commands the bug to gather information from the surroundings, and it immediately darts away to do its mission. Atu is surprised because she didn't expect things to go so smoothly in this new and unfamiliar world, and Takuto tells her that he can only share the vision of the bug, just like in the game. He then says that he spent half of his mana to create the scout, and now his best choice is to create a starting settlement for them. He wishes that he had a bit more mana to create a fighter to defend them, but that is not possible right now. Atu gets a bit depressed on hearing this because she is really weak right now and she can't even protect herself. Forget about Takuto. Anyway, Takuto keeps scouting the area through the bug's eyes, and he says that there is nothing but forest here. Atu gets sad because she can't help him right now, but he tells her that her presence is good enough for him, and she gets really happy on hearing this. Just then, the bug comes across a group of poor and tired dark elves. Atu says that this is a good news for them because dark elves are a neutral species, though they incline a bit towards the neutral evil side, and their kingdom is also Loki neutral evil. However, this news worries Takuto, who begins wondering if this is really the world of Eternal Nations. He begins thinking that if there is another civilization nearby, his kingdom is most certainly going to be destroyed right now. But Atu tells him that if they are in any kind of danger, they will flee away together. Takuto tells her that she couldn't be more right, and he decides to keep an eye on the Dark Elves while scouting the area some more for now. While they are doing their silly chants and celebrations, a group of Dark Elves suddenly arrives there. They are as shocked to see Takuto and Atu as they are shocked to see them, and Atu decides to put her life on the line if her master is in any sort of danger. Turns out, the leader of the Dark Elves, Jia, was on a mission to find food for his people who are too tired and hungry to move. His assistant told him that they should not be in this forest because legends say that something incredibly evil is sealed away in this place. But Jia told her that he can't back down just because of that, because his people need him. Just as he was thinking that, he suddenly came face to face with Atu and Takuto, who seemed to him like the avatar of evil. He is struck with fear as he can only see a black silhouette in place of Takuto, and now he is sure that the stories about something incredibly evil in this place are not false. He thinks that if he makes a mistake here, his entire clan could be wiped out. So he quickly kneels before Takuto and introduces himself. His followers do the same, and then Jia apologizes to Takuto for trespassing in his territory. Atu suddenly starts acting like a gangster and says that it is good to see that they know their place. She asks him why did the Dark Elves come here, and Jia begins his sob story to get some sympathy. However, Atu gets bored and tells him to get to the point quickly, scaring the shit out of him. He immediately tells her that his clan was banished by the council, and they are being persecuted even now. Suddenly, Takuto asks him if they faced great difficulty, and Jia freezes from panic. However, when Atu tells him to answer the king's question, he explains that their clan was punished unjustly, and they were forced to enter these cursed lands to stay safe. However, their food supply ended a week ago, and now his people are starving because they haven't been able to find any source of food here. Jia starts thinking about the hardships his clan faced when all they wanted was to live peacefully. He wonders if Takuto will be cruel to them too, but to his surprise, Takuto throws some apples at him, telling him that he should try them out because they are delicious. Jia has never seen apples before, and he is doubtful about them. But his followers don't have his patience, and they begin gobbling down the apples while exclaiming how sweet they are. Takuto suddenly creates some pears too, and Jia is left completely stunned. Atu asks him why is he not eating the fruits that her master has so gracefully given him, and the Dark Elf immediately bows before Takuto, saying that there are more people in his tribe who are starving. He wants to feed them, especially the children before himself, and Takuto takes pity on him. He starts summoning a huge amount of food, much to Atu's horror and Jia's shock. Dark elves like him have always been discriminated against because people believe they belong to the dark side, and no one has ever tried to help them before now. He asks Takuto who exactly is he, but he just tells him to take the food to his people. Jia and his followers soon return to their camp with the food, and everyone finally gets to eat till they are full. Jia, however, refuses to reveal how he got the food to other elves, but at night, while he is sitting alone by the campsite, the clan elder arrives there. He remarks that the fruits he brought earlier were different from anything he has seen in his long life, and they were more tasty than any other fruit. He asks Jia where did he get those fruits from, and he tells the elder about his meeting with the legendary evil being. The elder is shocked because Jia met the King of Ruin who is mentioned in ancient books. He says that according to those books, when the world has become too full, the King of Ruin will appear and destroy the world so it can have a fresh start. Jia feels like Takuto meets the description of the King of Ruin, but truth be told, he couldn't even understand a single thing that Takuto said, and he only acted on hints that he got from Atu's behavior. The elder is not sure about that part yet, but he asks Jia if he gave Takuto anything in return for the food. He says that he didn't give anything in return, and the elder says that no evil being would show mercy to someone without getting something in return. Jia, however, believes that Takuto is a merciful being who took pity on his people's suffering, and that angers the elder. He asks Jia how can he talk about an evil being with such respect, but after a bit of debate, he realizes that Jia did his best and secured food for his people. After that, Elder Molter declares that he will negotiate with the Dark King as the senior-most Dark Elf, and hopefully, their clan will be able to get the peaceful life they have always dreamt of. On the other hand, Atu scolds Takuto for using his mana to create food for the elves when he doesn't have enough for it. But the moment he tells her not to be upset at him because he needs her, she starts acting like a simp again. The next day, Jia gets ready to visit Takuto again, and Elder Molter asks him if he is ready to face the king. He believes that since they have already accepted charity from the Dark King, they must be ready to pay any price he asks in return. Jia objects, saying that Takuto never said anything like that. But Molter replies that it is just the way of nature for evil beings to ask for compensation in exchange of the good deeds they do. However, he agrees that they need to keep relying on Takuto to survive, because no place else is safe for them. The two of them decide to go to Takuto together, unaware that his insect scout was keeping an eye on them the whole time. Takuto immediately calls the bug back to report to him, and when he learns that the elves are coming, he just wishes that they take the rest of the food he prepared for them yesterday and leave quietly. He gets nervous as he explains that he gets nervous and can't communicate properly, so he doesn't know if he can negotiate with the Dark Elves. Atu tells him that she will do it for him, and it will also show the Dark Elves that her king doesn't even talk to the likes of them. Soon after that, Molter and Gia arrive there, and the old elf greets Takuto with some ChatGPT-generated salutation, thanking him for providing food to his people. He then asks if he can know the name of the person who helped them, and on receiving Takuto's permission, Atu shares his name, declaring him as the King of Ruin. Both the Dark Elves are shocked to have their fears confirmed, and then Atu tells them to take the food and leave because it won't last long anyway. However, Molter says that he wants to repay Takuto for the kindness he showed them, and asks what can they offer him in return. Atu simply tells them that they won't have anything that will be able to satisfy her king anyway, so they shouldn't even bother trying. She asks the elves if they really have anything they even consider valuable, and Molter hesitates because there is nothing like that with them anymore. Atu gives him a death stare on seeing him hesitate and asks if he is plotting something. Molter starts panicking and Takuto realizes that the negotiation is going very badly now. He suddenly calls Atu to discuss their approach, and she gets mad because Takuto is planning to be too lenient. She tells him that these two losers don't even know how to negotiate, and at this rate, they will only become obstacles in his path. She suggests killing them all and putting their heads on pillars around their base, but Takuto asks her to stop turning into that one Austrian painter. He says that the elves just want to coexist peacefully with him, and they want to pay him back for the same reason. He suggests that they ask them to pay in a way they can rather than giving them food for free, because it will keep their relationships with the elves good. Atu can't argue with that, and she tells the elves that her king has decided to accept their offerings. On seeing the relief on Molter's face, both Takuto and Atu realize that he was so nervous because he thought of Takuto as the typical evil being. Atu rebukes him for that, but then she gets confused about what to ask in return for the food. Suddenly, Takuto gets an idea, and he tells her to ask the elves about the outside world. Molter is really glad to hear this, and he swears to tell Takuto everything he has seen and heard in the outside world in detail. Atu says that once he has done that, he is supposed to leave the forest with his tribe immediately, and that shocks both Gia and Molter. They say that they would like to keep living in the forest under Takuto's mercy, but Atu tells them to stop being greedy if they want to live. Gia tries to argue, but Molter shuts him up, saying that they need to obey the command of the king. They begin to leave, but now Takuto feels bad for casting them out. He suddenly gets an idea and tells Molter and Gia to become his citizens. Both of them are shocked to hear this, but not as much as Atu, who asks Takuto what the hell is he doing. He reminds her about the refugee system in the game, which allows them to take in different species as their citizens. He remarks that since Dark Elves are a neutral species, they will easily adapt to the evil attribute of their kingdom, and then they can coexist with the other species living in their kingdom. Atu is still doubtful because species with evil alignment tend to have conflicts among each other. But Takuto reminds her that their main species called homunculi look like humans that were taken apart and put back poorly, and they can't spend all their time with them. Atu immediately agrees with him as soon as the creepy image of the homunculi pops up in her mind. She turns to the two elves, telling them that Takuto plans to build a kingdom here soon, and he is ready to accept them as his citizens if they pledge to serve him. Molter is taken aback at this, and he asks Atu what will happen if they choose to become his citizens, and she makes it clear that they will become evil beings, but she tells them that it is more fun than they think to be evil. Soon after that, Takuto and Atu head to the settlement of the Dark Elves, where everyone is ready to welcome him. Everyone is terrified of him, and some of the weaker ones faint just on seeing one glimpse of him. Takuto takes his throne with Atu by his side, who tells the Dark Elves that now they are going to become the citizens of their kingdom Minegra. She asks Takuto one final time if he is sure about it, and just as he gives his permission, the elves are accepted into his kingdom, and Atu congratulates them because now their survival and safety is guaranteed by their new king. Gia wonders if that is all because he doesn't feel any different even though he should have become an evil being. Suddenly, he regrets his words as intense hatred erupts inside him and the other elves. They think about the people who hurt and prosecuted their kind and are filled with the desire to get revenge, and the two normal elves with them are worried about them. Seeing everyone suffering, Takuto asks them if they are fine, and Gia is moved to tears on realizing that someone cares for him and his people now. The Dark Elves start cheering on Takuto with tears in their eyes, and he is low-key overwhelmed by this. A few days later, Takuto receives a map of the continent from Molter, and he crashes out just as he sees it. Atu asks him what is wrong, and he tells her to look at the map and see what a shitty starting position they have. They are on a continent where two huge and powerful civilizations are already present. One of them is the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, a nation of humans who worship the god Arlos, and they are a hardcore good alignment civilization. On the other hand, there is Elnan, the alliance of elementals where elves who worship nature live. They are also aligned to the good side, and Atu panics on realizing that if they find their kingdom, they will quickly erase them. She crashes out along with Takuto, but then he calms down, saying that as long as they are not discovered, they can become stronger. He says that in the game, their main species homunculi are really dumb so they can't do much research, but now that they have dark elves, things should be better on that end. Soon after that, the Dark Elves pay him a visit, and this time, Gia has brought along his assistant Emily with him. He tells Takuto that Emily is a smart nerd, who knows a lot of stuff about other kingdoms, so she will definitely help him out more than them. Atu tells them that the king is pleased with their dedication, and then declares that they are going to take up important jobs from now onwards because it is what Takuto wants. First, she assigns Molter the duty to look over the internal affairs of the kingdom, and says that she has high hopes from him because she has learned that he knows magic as well. Next, she makes Gia the head warrior of Minagra and tells him to build up a strong army so that they can defend themselves. She leaves recruiting soldiers into their army entirely to him, and he gets hyped up, saying that he will kill all their enemies and display their heads as trophies, but Takuto is already grossed out. He says that war is barbaric, and Atu tells the confused Gia that their king prefers peace, so he should keep that in mind. This confuses the elf warrior even further as he wonders why would the king of Ruin love peace. Well, Molter taunts Gia, and then immediately gets up, saying that unlike Gia, who only has muscles instead of brain, he will be more helpful. Gia takes this as a challenge, and he tells Takuto that he is young and strong, so he can work more without rest. Atu doesn't realize that they are just competing to get Big Evil Daddy's attention, and she thinks they are workaholics. She asks Takuto if they should give them a mission to collect resources, and he suggests that they should order them to beautify the terrain and create some houses. Atu immediately conveys this to Molter, telling him to gather enough timber to build homes while leaving the forest mostly intact. Molter says that he will immediately get to it because dark elves are forest dwellers originally. Takuto then tells them to reforest the parts they cut out, and this confuses the elves because they haven't heard the term. Takuto realizes that their civilization might not be as advanced as to understand reforesting, so he asks them if they know about military magic or the 6 major elements. Molter says that he only knows about the 4 major elements, and Emily says that she has never heard of any country using military magic. Takuto and Atu realize that this world is much more primitive than they thought, but it is actually a good thing because once they progress their magic technology, they can quickly overtake other nations. Atu then explains that reforesting means growing new trees in place of the ones they cut off, and the Dark Elves say that they do that too, but they can't use magic to grow them quickly. Atu says that reforesting uses the 6 major elements to quickly grow the tree, and she suddenly gives the credit for this discovery to Takuto, even though it is a big fat lie. She keeps glazing Takuto, saying that he created the unique fruits they ate earlier, and how grapes are her favorite. Emily agrees with Atu and says that she tried planting the grape seeds and some plants have already sprouted. This comes as surprising news to Takuto, who didn't think it would be possible to grow anything here. However, he quickly realizes that he could create the fruits from Earth here with magic, which means he might be able to create other things. He tests his theory out by creating a coin, and realizes that he can create gunpowder and other science stuff. In that way, he can advance his civilization much faster than other kingdoms. Meanwhile, in the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, things are starting to stir up as well. Saintess Selena is leading a group of knights to the foothills covered with snow to deal with some monsters that are a threat to the villages nearby. As soon as she sees the goblins running towards her, she points her staff at them, turning them into ash with her holy flame. The holy flame vanishes into the clouds after destroying the monsters, and as sunlight falls on the scorched ground, flowers sprout there. The Knight Captain tells his men that Selina's ability burns evil-natured monsters and creates a flower bed in their place, and she is the reason they have a friendly relationship with the elves. After that, Selina tells the Cardinal that he should send paladins to the south instead, because she recently had an omen about something terrible happening in the Cursed Forest. The Cardinal refuses, saying that the Cursed Forest lies at the farthest end of the continent, and he needs permission from higher-ups to deploy paladins there. Selina threatens to go there herself if he can't send anyone, and though the Cardinal tries to fight back, he backs down and promises to send the soldiers he can personally mobilize. At the same time, Takuto and Atu are busy with developing their territory, starting with building some houses for the Dark Elves. A temporary throne room has already been built around Takuto's throne, and he is eager to hold meetings and conferences with the important citizens of his kingdom. Just then, Molter, Gia and Emle arrive there, and Atu tells them that they should immediately start their first council meeting. However, Emle has a gift for Takuto before the meeting, and it is an outfit that makes him look like a femboy. He is glad to receive the outfit because his clothes were getting dirty, and he thanks the elves for that. However, the elves see no change in his appearance, but they trust Atu when she tells them that Takuto looks great in the outfit they prepared. With that out of the way, she starts the council meeting, but Takuto is too busy fanboying after himself. Atu decides to continue the meeting without him and consult him whenever they need any input, and Takuto is completely fine with that suggestion. As the meeting starts, Molter asks Atu what kind of buildings should they make first. She tells him that they should start with food production facilities, and then pulls out a creepy-looking plant which is going to be their main source of food for now. The elves are grossed out on seeing the plant and ask Atu to explain what exactly is it. She tells them that it is the flesh plant, which is unique to their civilization. She explains that the plant can produce meat which tastes like human flesh, and it is quite nutritious. The elves are taken aback on hearing that, and they say that they don't really eat humans, but Atu tells them that the flesh plant is just for the starting phase, and soon they will have other types of foods available to them. She then says that they must also create storehouses and management sheds along with the farms, and Emily decides to take up that job. After that, Atu moves on to the next item on her agenda, which is research, because acquiring advanced technology is especially important for small nations like theirs. Molter asks her what sort of technology should they focus on, and she tells him that they will research magic technology. Takuto is really excited to see that happen, and Molter says that as a mage, he will do his best to impress him. He then asks Atu exactly what kind of magic technology he should research, and she tells him about military magic. She explains that standard attack magic can only target a handful of people at a time, but advanced military magic can destroy entire cities and even change the terrain to their advantage. Atu tells him to gather the elves talented in magic and start working on the research immediately, and Molter is hyped to create magic spells that don't yet exist in this world. Next up, Atu moves to the topic of their military strategy, and Gia gets excited because it is his turn now. However, Takuto immediately tells him that they are not going to invest too heavily in the army right now. Atu adds that armies are expensive to maintain, but they don't produce anything in return in times of peace. Gia argues that they don't have enough strength to protect their king currently, and thus they should pay more attention to their military. Molter also adds that both he and Gia have bounties on their heads as the leader of Dark Elves, and their enemies might attack the kingdom. Takuto understands their concerns and decides to create a hero to defend them instead. Atu agrees, saying that creating a hero is expensive, but they need no maintenance, so they are perfect for their current needs. The elves don't know what a hero is, and Atu tells them that heroes are incredibly strong beings who serve directly under the king. There are conditions to summon different heroes, but she is confident that they can summon the first one quite soon, and Takuto is excited for that. He thinks about how they need mana to do most things in this world, and a kingdom can only collect mana from its people. The happier the people are, the more mana they can collect, and Takuto is determined to make his kingdom the happiest place on this planet. Meanwhile, in the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, a junior paladin named Lonius has been selected as a part of the investigation team to be sent to the Cursed Forest. A senior paladin Verdal is also with him, and his favorite way to kill time is to annoy Lonius, who is too straight-laced and formal. Verdal complains that they are sending an awfully small investigation team that involves just 2 paladins and some mercenaries. He says that the church should pay more attention to Selena's prophecy, and Lonius agrees, but he knows that they can't guess what the higher-ups are thinking. He knows that if they succeed, they will be rewarded greatly, but if they fail, all the blame will most definitely fall on his head. Back in Minagra, Takuto inspects the progress of his civilization. He feels nostalgic because he has seen the starting phase of his civilization thousands of times on a screen till now, but this time, he is seeing it up close. Emily gives him a tour, telling him that the Dark Elves specialize in building houses on trees, but the pace of building houses is slow right now because they are focusing on the flesh trees. The flesh trees are growing well though, and the management and storage facilities have also been built. Emily then says that they found a freshwater spring nearby and they are trying to see if they can draw water from it. As for the magic research, Molter and other mages are working hard in the newly formed research building. Takuto is glad to hear all that, and even more so to learn that the elves are taking initiatives like finding water sources. He is really happy that the elves who looked exhausted when they first came here look happy now, and when he tells that to Emily, she starts crying tears of joy. Takuto freaks out on seeing her break down, but Emily soon calms down and resumes the tour. She shows Takuto and Atu to the flesh tree farm, and says that thanks to the tools that Takuto produced, they can expect the first harvest soon. Next, she takes them to the source of water the elves found, but notices that the vibe around the place is completely different this time. The water has turned dark as well, and Emlet is disappointed because she thinks that they can't use it anymore. Before Atu can explain why she is wrong, Molter and Gia also arrive there to see the water source. They agree with Emily that the water doesn't seem usable anymore, but then Atu takes a sip, telling them that it is completely safe to drink. She then explains that this place looks dark and gloomy now because it has become a part of Minagra thanks to a feature called the Cursed Terrain. Takuto asks the elves to take a deep breath, and they suddenly feel their minds clearing up and their bodies filling with energy. Atu explains that Cursed Terrain gives advantage to creatures with evil alignment and imposes penalties on neutral and good alignment beings. Since the Dark Elves are part of Minagra, they are evil beings now, and thus, this water is completely safe for them. Gia verifies that by drinking the water, and then Atu says that soon, the entire forest will be a part of the Cursed Terrain. However, Takuto thinks that it can be a little problematic because the Cursed Terrain stands out too much. Molter agrees, saying that once the entire forest becomes this dark, their enemies can easily spot them. Gia once again suggests creating an army, but both Atu and Takuto assure him that they are going to summon a hero. Molter says that he is still not clear about what a hero is, and Atu decides to teach him through an example. She suddenly summons dark tentacles from her back, slashing down nearby trees effortlessly before revealing that she is a hero herself. And even though she has only 1% of her full power, she can still defeat entire armies. Takuto boasts to the surprised elves that heroes are really awesome, and they keep growing stronger with time even if they don't do anything. However, he quickly changes the topic and tells Atu that there was no need to chop down the trees to show her power, and tells her to clean up the mess later. The elves, on the other hand, are truly amazed by what they just saw, and they say that Takuto is really a great being for having such powerful subordinates. They decide to create a grand palace suitable for him, and Takuto says that he doesn't need it right now. However, the elves refuse to let their king stay in similar houses like them. And Atu also tells Takuto that creating a palace will make the people happier, so they should let them do it. Takuto decides to give them his permission, saying that he wants a flying fortress someday, but for now, he will be satisfied with a normal palace too. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.